foods that you can eat to also activate brown fat inside of our body. First off, just what does activating brown fat actually mean?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the big idea of fat that most people get wrong. So the idea that we think about for on fat is a negative idea, right? Most of us, uh, look, if you go to the grocery store and you wheel your cart, even if you're a vegan, you're going to roll your cart by the meat section. All right, it's going to happen. And if you see a big T-bone steak with a big rind of fat, you go, "Oh man, I hope nobody eats that. That's disgusting," right? And all of us also associate fat with something we don't want. So, and this has happened to me, right? You step out of the shower in the morning, right? And you can see out of the corner of your eye, your body. And if you see a lump or a bump that you are not happy with, like, what do? You curse and you go, man, I got to get in better shape. I got to do something about that. And then the next step you do, which is even worse, is you step on the scale. And that number isn't exactly the number you're hoping for. Like your day is shot. All right. So our the basic person's everyday person's idea of fat is very negative. However, we know that fat can't be all bad for us. And the reason we know that hardwired is that there is one situation where when you see fat, you smile, right? Big smile, ear to ear. And that's when you see a baby, right? When you see a baby, like a big chubby baby, like it just brings a big smile to everyone's face. And so while we're hardwired to think of fat as bad, deep inside, we know that there is something valuable about body fat. And that's really where I want to take off to talk about white fat and brown fat. You know, a lot of people don't realize that fat, like many other tissues in our body, is designed for a function. And that function is to exist at a level that is just right, like Goldilocks, not too hard, not too soft, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. We need just the right amount of body fat because our body fat, as you said earlier in the intro, stores energy. All right. So a lot of people don't know this, but fat is like one of the earliest tissues to form in our body. When your mom's egg met your dad's sperm, and we were all a ball of cells, okay? Didn't have a face, didn't have arms or legs yet. We were just forming. The first organs, the first tissue that forms are circulation. Everything needs a circulation. Second tissue that forms are our nerves because everything needs electrical wiring to function, right? So this is like building a house if you're a contractor. The third tissue that forms is body fat. Now, you don't even have a chin to be double. You don't have a waist to have a muffin top. So for some reason, fat is forming really early. In the early places it forms, really amazing. It forms like bubble wrap around your blood vessels, our blood vessels. Now, why does it do that? Well, once I tell you what it does, it's going to make perfect sense to you what fat does. Fat forms like a layer of bubble wrap around our blood vessels because when we eat food, our food is our energy. We call that energy calories. It's kind of like a car, right? You're going to fill up your car with gas, for example. We call it gallons of gas, and we got to store it in our gas tank. Well, our fat is our body's gas tank, and our food is our fuel. It's the petrol we actually load into our tank, right? So where do you want your fuel tanks to be? Right, where the fuel is coming from, right around the blood vessels. And that's why fat is engineered at the very beginning of life to be surrounding our blood vessels. So our fat does grow over a period of time. When we eat, the fuel is stored in our fat cells. And then when we need the energy, we burn it right from our gas tank. Just like when you're actually leaving a filling station, you fill up your tank. That's after you had dinner, or after you're leaving the filling station, when the gas nozzle goes click, you're done, you're filled. And then you go off on your way and you burn down the gas, the fuel. Now, here's what actually is amazing. Most of the fat that gets filled up is called white fat. And we've got two different colors of fat in our body, actually, mostly. Kind of like going, if you ever painted a house, or painted your bedroom, you got to go to the paint store and you're going to see all these different colors and you pick out a couple of swatches and then you got to go home. So like, when our bodies were designed and body fat was being kind of like, how are we going to design body fat? It's like going to the paint store. All right. Mother Nature chose a can of white paint and a can of brown paint. All right. And I'm going to tell you why brown in a second. But this is the color of paint that our fat is actually colored. And the fuel is mostly stored in our white fat. Our white fat actually is generally under the skin. All right, that's called subcutaneous. That's the stuff you can see under your chin, under your arms. That's the stuff that people don't want to have in their thighs and their butt too much. That's the muffin top. All right. Now, then there's inside white fat that can be located inside the tube of your body. Like, imagine your body like a big sewer tube, right? And this fat, you've got or organs in there, fat's packed in there. That's also white fat. We call that visceral fat. Visceral meaning gut. It's the fat around your gut. And then that's the white fat. Then the brown fat, the color brown. The brown fat is not wiggly jiggly or lumpy bumpy like the white fat is. The brown fat is wafer thin, like a piece of paper. Amazing. And it's not close to the skin. Can't see it. It's pressed close to the bone. In fact, it's underneath the muscle. It's around your strap muscles around your neck, under your breastplate, your breastbone, a little bit between your shoulder blades, and a little bit in your belly. Now, white fat stores energy, stores fuels, your gas, your fuel tank. Brown fat helps you burn that fuel. Now, if you need to be temperature regulated, okay, so let's say you go into a cold plunge, all right, or you go out into the, like some of these people in the Norwegian countries do. In the winter, they just like get naked and they jump right into the icy Arctic, right? Okay, so you're going to do that. You're going to actually get really cold, and your brown fat compensates by firing up like the unit on your, like a gas burner on your kitchen, on your stovetop, right? So what happens when you actually want to boil some soup or something or some water, put the pot on, you go to your range if you've got gas cooking, and you turn the knob, it goes click, 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 whoosh. Now you got the flame. Now in your kitchen, that flame is drawing gas from your gas line or a gas tank by the side of your house. In your body, when your brown fat goes on to create temperature, like your gas range, click, 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 whoosh, that's the cold plunge, all right? It's going to generate heat. Where's it going to get that fuel from? You don't have a gas tank. Wait, you do. That gas tank is your white fat. So brown fat, to regulate temperature, like in a cold plunge, will draw the fuel to burn to create higher temperature from your white fat, starting with your visceral fat, the fat that's trapped inside the tube of your body. And so this is actually why cold plunges work, to actually help you up your metabolic game. So if you're somebody who's busy and you don't have a lot of time to work out and get a gym and get a trainer and, train for marathons and all that kind of stuff, if you want to do one thing to really trigger your body's hardwired system to help step up your metabolism, burn down some of that extra fuel that's accumulated, not just from last night's dinner, but from last month's dinner and from last year's too much dinner. This is overeating that a lot of us do over the course of our lives. This is why cold plunges actually can be helpful.